episode of The Garden Voyeur. My name's Brian, and today we are going to be pulling some of our plants out of the garden. Last episode we cleared some of the raised garden beds to prepare for some of the fall planting, and I was kind of torn between getting rid of the black cherry tomato plant and our beefsteak tomatoes. The problem that the black cherries were having is we went almost a week without picking any of the ripe ones off, and we've had so many that have started to rot, and there are so many fruit flies and gnats and other kind of bugs, and it really smells like a fungus. And it just, I don't know. I've had some of the cherries, or the black cherry tomatoes for lunch. They taste fine, but I don't know. I just think that we kind of neglected it a little bit, although it looks pretty good. But I kind of want to go ahead and clear this whole thing out on the edge so that I can plant some more lettuces and spinach on that end. And then I think the plan was for fall was to put a very light row cover on top, so that we can keep the pests, the butterflies and the moths that we're having so many problems with. We're going to go and get that pulled and take care of that. So we're going to pull that. We're going to pull the beefsteak, which, you know, this whole summer just hasn't really done anything, and I think it had some kind of a virus. We'll get those pulled. And then what else I'm going to, or also what I'm going to do is, in the second raised box that we have, I'm going to go ahead and pull the dinosaur kale and the southern Georgia kale that we have over here. They're just completely torn up by caterpillars. Every organic type spray that we tried to put together, it just didn't work, and the plants just can't recover quick enough. And when the plants get weak, it kind of just snowballs from there, and you're just behind the 8 ball. So we're going to go ahead and pull those as well, and then we're going to replant some new stuff and go from there. So let's get started. Okay, so I've got my good trusty hand clippers, and this is going to be kind of some work here. We're going to have to kind of prune back some of the branches just so that we can get the big Texas tomato cage off and pulled out and make it a little bit easier. And this kind of pains me to cut down such a big one, but it's all part of the process of gardening. And I just have to kind of look forward to what we're going to get here in the fall. This is kind of creating a mess here. If you guys remember, down below is where we planted last week, and it's been probably 4 or 5 days, and I'm actually starting to see sprouts for the first time this morning. So maybe I'll get you guys a close-up of that here in just a second. And I wonder, let's see here, I've got a big steak here. I'm going to get that pulled first. We'll just pull that off to the side. And I wonder, let's see here. What if I cut it from the base? There we go. It's done. No turning back. I've cut the main part off, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this whole thing out. There are gnats and flies everywhere, and I'm sure, because we were fighting spider mites before, I'm sure I'm in the middle of all the spider mites. And anything spider I don't do very well. Okay. And this might make it easier to do it this way. All right, ready? Oops. The Texas tomato cage comes into 2 pieces. All right, that's done. Oh, I just feel like everything's crawling all over me. I don't want to think about that. So that really opens up the garden. And the plan is next year, hold on a second, I'm going to toss this to the side. Plan for next year is to use these primarily for the smaller plants. I'm going to have in the main yard, in the backyard, I'm hoping to create 2 more raised boxes. And we're going to rotate each season the tomatoes and the peppers so that we can get into a cycle to where the tomatoes and the peppers aren't in the same box. I think we'll do a rotation of maybe once every 3 or 4 years if we can. I will have to build probably another 3 or so, but it kind of helps with some of the diseases and pests. You can see down here the you can see a bunch of gnats and fruit flies. I don't know if you guys can see them on the camera. There's a bunch of them from the tomato plant. And then there's the sprouts. And not quite sure which ones these are as far as lettuce or the spinach that we did. I'll have to go back. I took a picture of how I planted them so I can get my markers in. But so why don't we go ahead and clean this out a little bit, or a lot, and then we'll work on the second raised bed. Okay, so we're over here in the second bed, and we've done a few episodes on the kale that we have. Got some dinosaur kale here. We had some Swiss chard that we had planted to the side of it. It just hasn't taken off. We're going to go ahead and get this stuff pulled. The kale at the end, the Georgia Southern kale, and some more dinosaur kale. I'm just going to get those pulled. And if you guys will look, let's see here. Again, this is the dinosaur kale that we did an episode on a few weeks back. It's just completely ravaged by caterpillars. And I mean, I was out here picking every morning. You know, we'd get half a dozen to a dozen caterpillars off. We tried the vinegar spray. I think the BT dusting that was recommended, which is some kind of a natural bacteria that's in the soil, and it affects only caterpillars. And I think what we'll do is we'll try that next season if it comes down to it. But there's a picture of the dinosaur kale, and then over here we got the Georgia Southern kale and the dinosaur kale here in the corner. And there's just nothing that we're going to do to save these. So we're going to get those pulled, replant, and hopefully get something for fall. All right, let's get a good hold, good grip. Get that pulled. That comes out pretty easy. I'm just going to kind of flip it over. Take a look and see. Yeah, I mean, it's covered with, and these are a little bit different than the small green loopers that we had earlier. These are the ones that are kind of, there's like a yellow stripe and black, yellow, and white. And they're just, I mean, I could just see probably at least a dozen. So we're gonna get rid of those. I'm gonna throw them off to the side for now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bag them up and throw them away. I'm not gonna put them in my compost bin because of the bugs and possible diseases that the tomato plants had. That's not a good thing to introduce into your compost bin. So let's go over here to the front end and see what we can get out. Okay, now we're on the front end of the other garden box, and we're gonna go ahead and get the kales pulled out. And I'm looking right here, and I can see, again, just covered with caterpillars. Let's get this camera here. Do you guys see? I mean, I can see 3 or 4 from this angle over here, And then if we come here and kind of flip up underneath, you can see them on the bottom of the Georgia Southern. And they're just having a good old time. And that's just going to be, that's part of the problem with kind of your organic gardening. I'm going to set the other camera up so get ready. But you know, you do the best you can by picking them and spraying them with, you know, I did a vinegar mixture spray, and I only did it twice, and it really didn't work, but it could have been that I started too late. Now that might be something we want to try next time and start it early, and perhaps that creates an environment where the butterflies and the moths don't want to lay their eggs on the leaves. So let's go ahead and get these pulled. I'm going to try my best not to get any of the caterpillars dropped into the soil. There's one that kind of clears things up a little bit, yeah. And the Georgia Southern, I'm kind of bummed. The Georgia Southern, I was excited because that's the ones that we had gotten for free from the botanical garden. And you flip them up and over, and they are just covered in caterpillars. There's one. We got one more we're going to pull. And that one's gone too. Yeah, those are just, man, I'm telling you, those caterpillars do quick work. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and pull the Swiss chard we had planted. I mean, these are just kind of struggling. And those have been in there for a while and they just haven't done anything. Possibly because they've been competing with the Kales. So that kind of opens things up here for the Thai dragon pepper plant, which has done really well. And they're starting to turn, a lot of them are turning red, which is their peak color and flavor and hotness. So I love cutting one of them up and putting into my salad the last few weeks. Kind of gives it a little extra bite. So, but they are hot. Hotter than the jalapenos we're growing. I think they go up to 100,000 on the Scoville unit chart. So anyways, all right, so we got the front end cleaned out, and we've got one more plant to go ahead and pull. All right, guys, we're going to come here to the back side and take care of the cherry tomatoes. We did the same thing on this one with the black cherries. We just kind of neglected it for a while. It's not looking really good. A lot of the cherry tomatoes have rotted through. It's just covered in the fruit flies, and it smells kind of funny. So I'm going to clear this out again, help things get ready for the fall. And the good thing is we are going to rely on the cherry tomatoes that we planted over my son's side of the garden for our salads for the fall. So his got started a couple months after ours from one of the transplants we did. He planted into the ground, and it's been going really good, and we've harvested some tomatoes off of it already. So that'll have to suffice for us. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other black cherry. I cut this off at the base. That's done. And let's get this one out. This was one that was a surprise for us. That after we had things planted, we noticed we had a bonus cherry tomato plant growing up between my boxes. And I think this was because of our existing garden from last year had dropped some tomatoes. And so it just started going off on its own. And instead of picking it, I was like, well, might as well let it do what it's got to do. So, and it's done really good. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of the beefsteaks as well. Let me cut off this green pepper that's rotted through too. Eek. Toss that over to the side. Get that off. It's kind of gross. And one more, and then we'll be done. That's cut. Our beefsteak. I'm going to go ahead and let's go off to the other side here. Get this off. this off. Boy, that does open up quite a bit. Pull that root ball out. And again, I will definitely not put these in the compost bin just in case there were some issues with it. We don't want to introduce that in there. So got that cleaned off and we're looking good. So that was today's episode. We got it cleaned out, and then in a couple days we'll come back out and we'll plant some more stuff back here and we'll do another episode. So take it easy, guys, and we'll see you next time.